At 76, Richard Gere, one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men, lives in exile. Not because of disgrace or failure, but by choice. He once commanded the silver screen, captivating audiences with roles in films like Pretty Woman, embodying charm, desire, and heartthrob status. However, Gere's journey took an unexpected turn when he decided to walk away from the fame, fortune, and red carpets that Hollywood offered. Instead, he chose to follow a different path, one of inner peace and spiritual growth, which ultimately led to his estrangement from the industry. At 73, while raising infant sons, Gere's body also faced immense challenges, yet he found a deep sense of fulfillment that Hollywood never offered him. Searching for meaning beyond fame. Richard Gere's story begins in a small town in Syracuse, New York, with a father who was more than just an insurance agent. He was a man of deep compassion, driven by a desire to help others. Raised in a Methodist household, Gere was influenced by the principles of kindness and selflessness, yet he felt an internal restlessness that couldn't be satisfied by traditional means. Throughout his childhood, he exhibited a love for music and sports, excelling in gymnastics and playing various instruments. But despite his talents, he was driven by deeper questions about existence and reality. This intellectual curiosity led him to study philosophy at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, though the answers he sought were not found in textbooks, but through life experience. The journey into Buddhism. In his early 20s, Richard Gere found himself searching for answers that philosophy alone couldn't provide. During his time in New York, he encountered Tibetan Buddhism, a path that resonated deeply with his soul. His quest for inner peace led him to study Zen and practice Tai Chi in remote settings, seeking to quiet the noise in his mind. Eventually, he met the Dalai Lama, whose teachings would profoundly shape his life. The Dalai Lama's wisdom challenged the acting techniques Richard had been taught, particularly the Stanislavski method, which focused on emotional manipulation. Instead, Buddhism encouraged a detachment from ego and emotional turmoil. It was then that Gere embraced Tibetan Buddhism fully, walking across Tibet as a pilgrim and practicing meditation in mountain monasteries. The world of Hollywood seemed increasingly distant from this newfound spiritual path. Entering Hollywood. The early breakthrough. While Richard Gere was spiritually evolving, his career in acting was taking off. By the late 1970s, he had become a rising star in Hollywood, with small roles that showcased his raw talent. His breakthrough came with Looking for Mr. Goodbar, 1977, where he played a drug-addicted pimp. This role left a lasting impression on audiences, but it wasn't until American Gigolo, 1980, that Gere became a household name. He played a high-end escort, a role that not only made him a sex symbol, but also established him as one of Hollywood's most bankable leading men. Throughout the 1980s, Gere starred in several films, but while the fame grew, so did his inner conflict. His spiritual journey began to clash with the fame he had attained. The fame paradox. The 1980s were a period of rapid fame and success for Gere, but they also brought a growing sense of discomfort. As a leading man, Gere was thrust into the role of a global sex symbol. His performance in An Officer and a Gentleman, 1982, solidified his status, with the film grossing over $130 million and earning 2 Academy Awards. Yet behind the glitzy exterior, Gere felt torn. He had dedicated countless hours to meditation and Buddhism, seeking a deeper understanding of life, while his Hollywood persona was built on external validation. Gere's role in American Gigolo was a stark contrast to the peace he sought in his personal life, and the contradiction began to weigh on him. He knew that the fame and attention were distractions from the truth he was trying to discover. A shift in values, advocacy, and spiritual growth. As Gere's fame grew, so did his commitment to activism, particularly in support of Tibet and the Dalai Lama. In the late 1980s, Gere began speaking publicly about the Chinese government's occupation of Tibet, a cause that was deeply personal to him. He used his platform to raise awareness about human rights abuses, despite knowing the risks. Hollywood, however, was not happy with his outspoken stance. China represented a significant market for the film industry, and Gere's criticism of the Chinese government led to backlash from major studios. By the early 1990s, Gere's political views had effectively sidelined his career in Hollywood. He was banned from presenting at the Academy Awards and found that his films were being quietly shelved. Yet, despite the cost to his career, Gere did not regret his decisions. He chose principle over profit, and in doing so, he began to carve a new path for himself, one that prioritized inner peace over external success. Love and Loss. The Marriage to Cindy Crawford. In 1988, Richard Gere met supermodel Cindy Crawford, and despite their 17-year age gap, they formed a close bond. Both were seeking something real, away from the superficiality of fame. They shared an interest in Buddhism and traveled to India and Nepal, deepening their spiritual practice together. To the public, they appeared to be the ultimate power couple: beauty, talent, and success. However, beneath the surface, their relationship was not without challenges. Cindy, young and eager, adapted herself to Richard's world, while Richard, already established, was less willing to compromise. The pressures of fame and the strain of long-distance relationships led to tension. In 1991, after a spontaneous Las Vegas wedding, their relationship quickly unraveled. Despite efforts to defend their marriage, the public scrutiny intensified. By 1994, the couple separated, with Cindy later admitting that their relationship was ultimately not sustainable due to their differing needs and lifestyles. A turning point: choosing peace over fame. By the mid-1990s, Richard Gere's career and personal life had taken significant turns. His decision to prioritize his Buddhist beliefs and activism over the demands of Hollywood had cost him his place at the top of the industry. Gere found himself estranged from the very system that had once embraced him, with his career in decline. Yet, in the midst of this professional decline, he found something that Hollywood had never offered: peace. Gere's decision to walk away from the fame machine was not one of failure, but of conscious choice. As he embraced a life outside of Hollywood's demands, he discovered a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. His dedication to Buddhism and activism gave him the inner strength to accept his exile and move forward in a more authentic, peaceful life. Raising a family in exile. As Richard Gere's career cooled, his personal life took on a new meaning. In his 70s, he became a father to 2 young sons, a life that offered him a sense of joy and purpose that Hollywood never could. While raising his children, Gere's focus shifted entirely from the external accolades of fame to the internal satisfaction of family life and spiritual fulfillment. He lived in relative obscurity, choosing a quieter life in Madrid, far from the Hollywood spotlight. It was in this new chapter that Gere found the peace he had sought for so many years. The man who had once been the epitome of Hollywood's leading man had transformed into a private individual, living according to his own principles, values, and spirituality. For Gere, exile was not a punishment, but a liberating choice that allowed him to live authentically. The legacy of Richard Gere. Richard Gere's journey is one of profound transformation. From the heights of Hollywood fame to his voluntary exile, his story is a testament to the power of personal conviction and the search for meaning beyond material success. While many actors chase billion-dollar franchises and bow to the demands of the industry, Gere chose a different path, a path that led him to Buddhism, activism, and a quiet life of fulfillment. Despite being erased from Hollywood's memory, Gere remains a man of principles, having traded fame and fortune for inner peace. His legacy, however, is not defined by box office numbers or awards, but by the courage to walk away from it all in pursuit of something greater than fame: truth and personal peace.